caulk boots, broad axes, chainsaws, and pine tar. These are all a master craftsman needs to transform giant timber into world-class wave-gliding vessels. Today, join me as we witness every mesmerizing stage of this manual craft. From the art of steam-bending oak using local peat to the assembly of a traditional clinker hull along the River Shannon. This is truly a feast for the eyes, dedicated to anyone passionate about raw mechanics and traditional woodworking heritage. Let's get started. The Pacific Northwest is home to some of the world's most colossal timber. However, if these giants are felled directly from the base, the sheer impact of the massive crown crashing to the forest floor would shatter and ruin the structural integrity of the timber. Because of this, a precise and specialized step is required before the tree can be felled, topping the tree. This task falls to John Levitt, a professional high climber. Over his 20-year career, he has topped more than 3,000 trees to be used as spars and masts. John shares that he loves the thrill of conquering heights and the challenges that come with the job. To carry out the mission, John equips himself with climbing spurs, a safety harness, an axe, and a chainsaw strapped to his side. He begins his ascent up the hundreds of feet tall ancient giant, tossing his flip rope and driving his spurs deep into the thick bark.
Not something good.
As he climbs higher into dense fog, John uses his axe to clear away branches obstructing his path. Afterward, he fires up his chainsaw to limber the trunk. Maintaining balance and operating heavy machinery at this altitude demands absolute, laser-sharp focus. The moment at the very top is a convergence of silence and explosion. As John's chainsaw slices completely through the apex dozens of meters above the ground, the massive crown plummets toward the earth. Instantly, the sudden release of weight transforms the remaining trunk into a colossal spring, violently whipping and bucking back and forth in midair. He must hold on with everything he has, placing absolute trust in his safety gear until the tree finally settles. As the trunk gradually comes to a standstill, the most hazardous part of the operation is over. The massive timber is now secure, standing tall, straight, and clean like a majestic mast against the sky, fully prepared for the final felling at the base to begin its epic journey toward the shipyard. Here, the massive log will be carved and shaped to transform into a dugout canoe. First, the craftsman uses a sharp iron spade, applying full leverage to pry away large sheets of bark, exposing the bright heartwood beneath. Far from just cleaning the surface, this is a critical inspection step that helps detect any cracks or knots that could compromise the structural integrity of the canoe. Once the log is stripped bare, a chainsaw is brought in to make long, deep longitudinal rips running down the multi-meter length of the trunk. When the cuts reach the proper depth, the craftsman begins driving hardwood wedges into the seams. This process demands absolute precision to ensure the split surface parts cleanly without twisting. From the 2 raw wood slabs obtained after the split, the craftsman begins tracing the vessel's outline. A tape measure is stretched taut to establish symmetrical points along the hull. With the aid of a high-power electric planer, the surface layer is leveled to eliminate any rough ridges. Next, a chainsaw glides artistically to shave off excess blocks at both ends, carving out the tapered, hydrodynamic shape of the bow and stern. This is a critical phase that dictates the future dugout's ability to slice through water and ride the waves. This is the most sweat-inducing and labor-intensive stage. The craftsman uses a chainsaw to make cross-cutting grid lines, creating a network of deep relief grooves inside the timber. Following this, an adze, a traditional hand tool with a characteristically curved blade, takes center stage. Powerful strokes pry loose the remaining chunks of wood, gradually deepening and widening the hull's interior. The synergy between modern machinery for bulk removal and the traditional adze for refining the soft contours of the interior showcases the sheer finesse of this craft. Now, the hull is flipped upside down to work on the exterior shell. The Craftsman utilizes a combination of planers and specialized draw knives to shave and sculpt the gunnels to perfect symmetry. This is when the artisan must rely on a keen intuition for thickness. If the hull sides are too thick, the canoe will be heavy and sluggish. If they are too thin, the wood will easily crack under hydraulic pressure. Layer after layer of paper-thin wood shavings fall away until the hull achieves a sleek, graceful lines without sacrificing its robust strength. Once the shape reaches absolute precision, the finishing stage begins. The craftsman uses scrapers and hand planers, patiently working over every single centimeter of the surface to erase the rough tool marks left behind from the bulk carving. Next, the edges along the gunnels are smoothly rounded over, not only providing a comfortable grip, but also adding a refined touch to the canoe's profile. The bow and stern are given a final, sharp carving to maximize their water-cleaving efficiency. Finally, a coat of natural oil or liquid tar is applied, bringing out the luxurious, striking grain of the oak. This coating does not just deliver a polished look worthy of a work of art, it penetrates deep into the wood fibers, creating a durable protective barrier against weather and water erosion. After weeks of dedicated labor, the canoe is finally launched into the water. It glides effortlessly through swift currents, navigating rocky rapids with remarkable agility. The vessel's rock-solid stability, while carrying 2 to 3 people along with their gear, stands as definitive proof of the success behind this meticulous crafting process. Next, join me as we visit the boatyard of Jimmy Fury. Jimmy Fury lives in Mount Plunkett, on the shores of Lough Ree, along the River Shannon. He balances life as both a farmer and an eel fisherman, a lifestyle that has given him a profound understanding of the aquatic environment. Craftsmanship has been woven into Jimmy's family for generations. His father was a carpenter, and his grandfather maintained and operated boats on the bay. Yet, Jimmy's entry into boat building happened quite naturally, starting with repairing his family's own vessels before gradually moving on to building his very first boat from scratch. According to Jimmy, a fisherman sometimes understands a boat better than a carpenter does, because they know exactly how the vessel needs to behave on the water. For him, boat building is not an art of straight lines, but an art of curves, where even the slightest adjustment can dictate how a boat glides across the River Shannon. The construction process begins with the keel, the component considered the backbone of the entire structure. Jimmy uses Irish larch to craft the keel for this standardized 18-foot sailboat. The keel is firmly secured onto the building berth, serving as the foundational bedrock for all the subsequent steps. Next comes the installation of the hog, which is fitted over the keel. This component creates the central slot required for the dropboard lifting mechanism. In tandem with this, Jimmy fits the stem post, the curved timber that shapes the bow and dictates the forward transitioning profile of the hull. Because this vessel belongs to a strict One Design class, it is constructed based on exceptionally rigorous measurements and technical specifications. A wooden guide batten extends along the overhead workspace, marked off in feet, to indicate the exact positioning of the stations. In this case, it marks where the temporary molds used for the planking stage are to be attached. The sheer strake planks are cut and temporarily clamped together so they can be worked on as a single unit, ensuring that the two symmetrical pieces are identical in shape. The planks are then brought into position and temporarily secured using the hog, ribbons, and a system of traditional wooden clamps. This stage demands constant adjustment to ensure the curves conform perfectly to the design. It is from this stage onward that the hull of the Shannon boat begins to emerge clearly, no longer just a technical framework, but gradually taking on the definitive shape of a real vessel. Though unmarried, Jimmy is far from alone. He has two brothers and two sisters. Among them, his younger brother Patty, a former naval sailor, became an important partner, supporting him both in daily life and later in technical work. Jimmy's path toward the Shannon One Design began when two English customers approached him with a request to build a Shannon boat. Although he had never built this type of vessel before and did not yet fully understand its complexity, he accepted the commission, a decision that would become a turning point in his career. Fortunately, Jimmy received help from Walter Leving, one of the earliest Shannon boat builders. Walter did not keep the craft to himself, but shared molds, fittings, and technical knowledge, a spirit of mentorship, characteristic of the traditional crafts community. The Shannon One Design itself carries a long history. The design dates back to the early 20th century when the first boats were built for the rowing community along the River Shannon. Walter Leving later built around 60 of them and continued working in the trade until as late as 1982. Now, as Jimmy completes each upper strake along the hull, he is not merely building a new boat, he is continuing a craft lineage that has endured for generations along the Shannon. To shape the boat ribs, Jimmy uses oak that has been soaked in water for several days to increase its flexibility before bending. The wooden strips are then placed into a steam system powered by local peat and fitted with a metal pipe as the heating chamber. The steam softens the wood fibers, allowing them to be bent to match the curve of the hull.
Right. You want to get some more ribs in here? Yeah, right. I hope they're better than the last ones. I'll keep it going for a while anyway.
This is not a task that can be done alone. Patty often assists Jimmy in positioning the heated timbers and securing them before the material cools and hardens again.
You ready, Patty?
Even a slight error in applied force or wood grain quality can cause a rib to crack.
Wow. Good. Yeah. At the top, Patty. At the top.
Once the ribs are completed, the hull continues to be assembled using traditional clinker construction, with overlapping planks fastened together by rivets. This method, originating from the Viking era, gives the Shannon One Design its combination of lightness, strength, and suitability for the waters of the River Shannon. Once construction is complete, the boat will be inspected by official measurers appointed by the Governing Class Association. The vessel must strictly conform to the exact technical standards of its design class. Even a minor discrepancy, such as a rib protruding too far or the hull width being off by a mere 2 inches, can result in disqualification. Jimmy must continuously monitor the alignment of the hull on the building stocks to prevent any twisting or a permanent list to one side. The beam of the boat, strictly regulated at 4 feet 10 inches, is maintained using temporary wooden shores, as the hull remains vulnerable to distorting before the permanent thwarts and seating are installed. Finally, the gunnels are fitted, adding structural rigidity to the sheer strakes and completing the overall hull structure. The design of the Shannon One Design is deeply intertwined with the natural conditions of the River Shannon, an expansive Irish waterway characterized by short, choppy waves. As small sailboats and centerboard boats grew in popularity, racing regattas flourished, bringing with them intense debates over class uniformity and design advantages. To resolve these inconsistencies, the Shannon maritime community decided to establish a standardized, one design class exclusively for competition. The result was the birth of the Shannon One Design, built to strictly regulated specifications. An 18-foot hull, a gunter rig, and a sail area not exceeding 140 square feet. In 1920, English yacht designer F.C. Morgan Giles was commissioned to finalize the blueprints, officially giving rise to the iconic class of the River Shannon. For Jimmy Fury, the Shannon One Design is more than just a racing boat. It is a piece of Ireland, a part of the River Shannon, and a reflection of the very life he has been a part of for decades. Beyond building full-sized boats, Jimmy Fury also devotes considerable passion to crafting scale models. One of his earliest models was a Shannon One Design, built at a scale of 1.5 inches to 1 foot. Work demanding precision and patience no less than full-scale boat building. He also created more complex models, including Swedish Iron Age boats.
Come on. Come on. Diddy. Go on.
But for Jimmy, the greatest challenge has always been the materials. The Shannon One Design requires several different types of wood: Irish larch for the side planking, oak for the ribs, white pine for the decking, and mahogany and teak for interior details. To source timber that meets the required standards, he often has to travel extensively, with Cohen's Yard in Tullamore being one of his regular suppliers.
That's right.
Throughout this process, Paddy continues to play a vital supporting role. Drawing on his marine engineering background and years of practical experience, he helps Jimmy operate the planer and handle many of the technical tasks behind the scenes in the boatyard.
It has to be dead straight, right, isn't that it?
Yeah. 90 degrees. There's only a few to bore, but so many.
I'd say you could go behind towards it there now, just there.
One of the critical technical features of the Shannon One Design is the centerboard trunk. Situated right in the middle of the hull, this housing allows the centerboard to be raised or lowered as needed, giving the boat better tracking and preventing leeway when sailing close-hauled. Jimmy machines both side panels of the trunk simultaneously to ensure perfect symmetry. Even a minor misalignment could prevent the lifting mechanism from operating smoothly. During stages that require an extra set of hands, his neighbor, Peter Coyle, often stops by to assist. The remaining components are finished with equal care. Oak is steam bent to form the trunk capping, the steel centerboard is custom fabricated, and the bronze fittings are cast using traditional sand molds. Many of the tools Jimmy relies on are custom made by his own hands, such as a specialized bronze compass plane used to shape the distinct taper and curve of the mast. After approximately 6 weeks of dedicated craftsmanship, the Shannon One Design is finally completed and handed over to Donald Gleason. The final touches, including applying the protective coats of marine varnish, are completed to prepare the boat for its competitive debut on the racing circuit.
Well, it's better win plenty of races now, Jimmy.
For Jimmy, building a boat is about much more than just hitting the right dimensions or following blueprints to the letter. A true boat builder must understand how their creation behaves on the water, how it reacts to the wind, the waves, and the hands of the helmsman.
You brought it forward all the way on this, to the step.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. In the plan it stops short, doesn't it?
Oh, it stops just here.
Yeah.
That is exactly what defines the enduring value of the Shannon One Design. A balanced, elegant design that stands as a testament to a lineage of hand craftsmanship deeply woven into the history of the River Shannon.
Ah, Jamaica.
Make a bit.
So.
Jimmy Fury wears many hats in life: fisherman, farmer, carpenter. But above all, he is a boat builder. His love for the River Shannon extends far beyond the workshop. It lives in the exhilaration of hoisting the sails and helming the vessels himself out on the open water.
Here, Andrew, come in here. Andrew, come in here.
He took up competitive sailing later in life, after turning 50, and became an active member of the RichiiiV Yacht Club. For Jimmy, the annual August regattas are much more than just a competition. They are a gathering of friends, a shared passion, and a celebration of the maritime lifestyle. Ultimately, what keeps him anchored to this craft is neither fame nor accolades, but the simple joy of manual labor, the warmth of the community, and the timeless flow of the River Shannon to which he has chosen to dedicate his life. From the moment a logger climbs dozens of meters into the air to top a giant ancient tree in the Pacific Northwest, to the meticulous carving of a log into a dugout canoe, and finally into the traditional boatyard along the River Shannon, this entire journey captures a monumental labor of love, a continuous dialogue between humanity and nature, forged through skill, experience, and raw courage. These massive trunks, initially just raw material, endure a grueling transformation. Safe harvesting, structural processing, shaping, balancing wall thickness, surface finishing, and finally, testing their seaworthiness on open water. Every single stage demands a seamless blend of physical endurance, technical expertise, and an intuitive professional sense accumulated over decades. Far beyond merely creating a mode of transportation, the art of boat building reveals the true depth of traditional craftsmanship, a realm where modern machinery assists but can never fully replace the eye, hands, and intuition of the artisan. From the razor-sharp precision of a chainsaw rip and the steam bending of timber, to the rigorous measurement of every technical specification for the Shannon One Design, everything reflects a near-absolute pursuit of perfection in turning natural materials into structures capable of defying waves, wind, and time. At the same time, the story of Jimmy Fury highlights the invaluable worth of generational knowledge and the unbreakable bond between a craft and its environment. A fisherman, farmer, and boat builder does not just construct a vessel based on blueprints or technical formulas. He builds from a profound understanding of currents, wind patterns, handling, and the practical needs of the sailor. This is what ensures each boat is never just a manufactured object, but a physical crystallization of local history, maritime identity, and professional pride passed down through the generations. Ultimately, this entire journey from forest to water proves that a boat is built of much more than just timber, rivets, or edge tools. It is shaped by the harmony between nature and human hands. It stands as a symbol of patience, precision, creative spirit, and the timeless desire to conquer the waterways. These are the core values that elevate boat building far above an ordinary manual trade, turning it into a living heritage of profound technical, cultural, and spiritual significance. Thank you for listening to the end of our story. If you love videos like this, please hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming journeys. This is RaWMachines saying goodbye and see you next time.